Hey, my friends, good morning. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic here on Mike Avery Outdoors. And just checking the audio again. Sounds pretty good in my ears. Let me see here. Sound goes through the headphones. And let's see. I want to turn that off here. I'm thinking it sounds pretty good. But you tell me. Tim Binns, if you're along with us, you can always tell me how the audio sounds. Anyway, good morning. How are you? My name is Mike Avery here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record actually next week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will tell you who's on the show this week coming up. John, good morning. Julie, good morning. Paul, good morning. Cliff, good morning. Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic on a very rotten, rainy, cold. Craig says audio sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Craig, Tim, good morning. How are you? It's not your birthday this week, is it, Tim? Thank you, Cliff. Appreciate it. Brian says, Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. It's a wet and chilly morning in hell. Billy, good morning. Jen, good morning. Marty checking in from Florida. He's the smartest one in the group so far. Topher, how are you? Tim, nice to have you along with us, checking in from Ohio. The rain is going to cause me to have a very lazy day. You're just looking for an excuse, though, aren't you, Bernie? Randy I. Murray said the boat's home. Yes. I talked to Brad Dupuy of Angler Quest this morning. They haven't started mine yet. Tim, you love that drone, do you? Aren't they a riot? Those drones are just I love those so much. Mike checking in from his camp up north. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn truck plant. Good morning, Jason. How are you? Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic live here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. My name's Mike Avery. I'm here in the studio to record this week, actually next week's show. I'll let you know who's coming up this week here. We continue to do a little bit of time shifting here in the studio. Hopefully that'll end in the next couple of weeks. So what's going on? Oh, let's see. Oh, tonight on Wednesday Night Live, of course, we'll give away another Michigan brand ham, but I want to bring this to your attention. Tonight on Wednesday Night Live, Amy Trotter of MUCC, the executive director. I did buy the little drone at Costco. Yes, I did. It's the DJI Mini. And Tim Binns got the next version, but for what they cost, they're phenomenal. They'll shoot high def video. They're just very, very cool. Kevin, good morning. How are you? Roger can't wait to get up north and go sucker fishing. If you check out my bear hunt video from White River, you'll see some aerial video that I shot with that drone, and it's just phenomenal. Nick Grillo of I in Michigan Brand Meats say this summer he's going to take his drone out on Saginaw Bay on a nice, calm morning, headed to Arizona and New Mexico. Brent, have fun, be safe. We really want to get some low-angle video. Tim called the marina this morning to have his boat taken out of storage and prepped by next. Excellent, Tim. Good luck to you. My boat is just a concept at this point. We know what color it is. We know what model it is. It's going to have a 300-horse Merc next weekend. Excellent. Tim, is that a Saginaw Bay boat or a Lake Erie boat or something else? A Southern Lake Michigan boat. They're fishing coho down there right now. Tonight, 7 o'clock, Wednesday Night Live, Executive Director of MUCC, Amy Trotter, will join me to answer your questions. So be thinking about, Kevin, good morning, be thinking about what you would like to ask her, not just about MUCC, about politics and the DNR and the MUCC and game management, but where we are here in the state of Michigan when it comes to the outdoors. Johnny, good morning, my friend. How are you? Johnny. One of my favorite guys. Kevin said the suckers are starting to run in Jackson. Who was I talking to this morning? Oh, I was talking to Brad Dupuy this morning, and he said it's about 3 weeks behind. Let me answer this text here very quickly, and the answer is yes. 12:15 p.m., not 12:15 a.m. Kevin, good morning. How are you? Dan, good morning. Mike, had a wolf move in on my beagles hare hunting last week. Happened all within 70 yards. Dog's okay, Dan? Good morning, Lee. Or good morning, Larry. Dave, good morning. Tim got the ND and polarized filters for your drone. Sent me 2 sets by mistake. How do you affix those to the lens? Is it a film that goes over the top, Tim? Because I don't remember, and haven't looked at it probably as closely as you have. Is there a screw on those that you could screw a small filter in there? I haven't even looked. Robert, good morning. Dan, good morning. Happy hump day. Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. Lake Erie boat. It's a Lake Erie boat. Nice. Battling rain and ice. All right. All right, Johnny, have a good day. Be safe. Yeah, Cliff, that was really cool to see my grandson out there shooting the shotgun I had as a kid. Captain Mark Pananzik, down on Lake Erie. How's the fishing? I appreciate that, Tim. Yeah, my grandson Carter came to me and says, Grandpa, Joe says at some point, could you talk about the regulations on your drone? Later. Okay. What's the range of the drone? Geez, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember. You can set it for different ranges, but it's if I remember right, Tim, correct me. If it starts to go out of range, it'll sense it and come back. The dogs are okay. I'm glad they weren't 800 yards out on a buck hare. Could have been a different scenario. Gotcha. Regulations, Joe, are you just can't use it for hunting, which means you can't use it for scouting or retrieval as well. Tim says 2.8 miles. I knew Tim would know. 2.8 miles. I'm still at the point where that drone where I like to see it because you can send it so far up and so far out you can't see it anymore, and that makes me nervous. 2.8 miles on a drone that's this big, yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it anymore. But it's a great little tool for what? $350, $400? Really nice. Anyway, yeah, my grandson Carter came to me and says, "Hey, Grandpa, I want to join the trap team at his local high school." I said, "That's a great idea." He said, "You don't happen to have a shotgun I could use, do you?" I'm thinking, well, I got a few in the safe. Let's see. He's not a very big guy. So he said, "I want a 12 gauge." I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think you want a 12 gauge, Carter. 12 gauge shooting 50 rounds is going to make you pretty sore, and you're going to be so worried about recoil, you're not going to worry about your shots. I said, "How about a 20? Jen says it makes him nervous too, and she's not the one flying it. Almost $500. Jen says almost $500. What model drone? Paul, I got, and this is last year now, I got the DJI Mini, and it was like $350 at Costco. And Jen says actually it's more than that now. But I got the DJI Mini. I think Tim got the DJI Mini 2. Good morning, Brian. It's nice to have you back along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Yeah, so Carter wants to shoot trap for the local high school team, which I think is a great idea. So we got into the gun safe, poking around, and I found 2 20 gauge guns because I really thought he should be shooting at 20. One of them was an old Remington semi-auto that my granddad had in 20, and the other one was the first gun that I ever had, a Stevens 94H made by Savage, 20 gauge single shot. And I said, that is the perfect gun. Number one, they're not loading multiple shells anyway. Dan says, great to see your grandson hunting with your old 20 gauge. He's not hunting with it yet. He's shooting trap with it yet. I have my great grandfather's 16 gauge single shot that I passed to my 17-year-old daughter. Isn't that cool? Michigan show, will they allow him to shoot trap with a 20? They wouldn't with his daughter, and she handled the 12 just fine, surprisingly. I was told, Michigan show, that 20 was okay. I was told through Carter that a 20 is okay. If we find out it's not, I got a 12 gauge he can use, but it's a 12 gauge pump turkey gun, and it's a pump, as I said, and I don't think he can reach out for the pump. The Remington Wingmaster was too long for him. 20 gauge mags. I don't know, Brian. Whatever they buy. I mean, we have to pay. We have to pay for the ammo. It was only $8 a box. Whatever they buy will be, whatever they want them to use. So I don't shoot trap. I don't shoot skeet. I've tried it before. Not a big fan of it. So I don't know. I think Carter's going to find out that this little 20 gauge single shot has a full choke. We didn't even talk about the concept of chokes yet with Carter. But we went out shooting. And I just had him shoot a couple of rounds just to get the feel for it. Then I had an old basketball and an old soccer ball that I rolled on the ground in front of him. Good morning, Jay. How are things in Illinois? To get the feel of shooting at something that was moving. Ammo is skeet loads. Yeah. Yes, the ammo is skeet loads. Yes. But you wouldn't shoot magnums for skeet, Craig, right? I'm assuming they're low brass, low recoil. So when we went out to, we bought a box of 20 gauge, number 6 shot, low brass to go shoot with. Now that gun will handle a 3-inch Magnum, which I was surprised being the age because that gun is over 50 years old. I got that gun for Christmas when I was 12 years old. Low recoil, right? So, Craig, are you telling me, and I respect your opinion on this, are you telling me that if he had to go to a 12, you think he could handle the low recoil? He's not a very big framed kid. That's the whole thing. I want a small, compact gun. Good morning, Jay. Nice to have you along with us. And I got this secondhand, but I was told 20 gauge is okay, and I feel really good about having him shoot that 20 gauge. Plus, it's safe, right? It's a 20 gauge single shot. You open it up, and everybody around you knows that it's safe. The hammer, I mean, it's a hammer safety, right? You got to pull the hammer back to make it shoot. I feel very good about it. We'll see. He has practice for the first time tomorrow. We'll see. Good morning, Raber Bay. How are things in the Eastern UP? I mean, if they come back and say, no, we were wrong, you have to shoot a 12, well, we'll figure that out too. But right now he's set up with what I think is a very nice 50-year-old single shot 20 gauge shotgun. And I think it's pretty cool. Okay, getting back to Amy Trotter. She's going to join us tonight at 7 o'clock. Okay, Craig, appreciate that. Thank you. Well, you know what? His other grandpa has a 12 gauge too. Very similar to the 20, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Craig. Okay. Daughter at 15 used the 870 Express Youth. She said it was enjoyable. She was 5'1", 110. That's probably about where he is. 2 feet of ice up there. A lot of trap guys like Dingle shot 4-H teams use 20 here. Okay. And Ed would know this. Ed Bolanowski says the 4-H team here uses 20. Bernie says when he was in high school, he carried a deer rifle and a shotgun on the rack in the back window of his pickup. Yep. And so did I. Well, it wasn't in the back window, but it was in the truck. And there was no school shootings, right? Nobody worried about it. It was accepted. Everybody was safe. It was a different world back then. What else? I keep going back to Amy Trotter tonight at 7 o'clock on Wednesday Night Live. Have some questions in mind for her, please. She will not do the whole show with me, but we will bring her on for a good long conversation. We will also give away a Michigan brand ham for Easter as part of our ham for the holidays. Speaking of Nick Grillo, check out his, Brian says sporting clays are fun. Yeah. Same guy you have Carter used for Blake, 50 years old. I know. Isn't that cool, Scott? Hey, Scott, did you ever get in touch with that guy that you and I were talking about here a week and a half ago? You ever get in touch with him? Zephyr Hills, Florida, checking in. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. I guarantee a question about wolves will come up. Well, I hope so, John. If not, I will ask her a question about wolves. The Remington doesn't leave bruises like the Benelli. Hersey checking in. Daryl, hey, Daryl, how are things in White River? You did? Okay. Positive conversation, Scott? And you don't need to answer here now if you want. Just shoot me a text later. I'm just curious how things went. By the way, Scott, that meeting that I was walking into went very well. It's starting tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon, if you go to the Primal Tree Stands website, primaltreestands.com. Hey, Kevin, how are you? You'll have a chance to win a guided turkey hunt in northern Michigan with Charlie Wiltsey. He's a northern Michigan hunting guide. In fact, he's featured on this month's Primal Tree Stands podcast that we are recording later this afternoon. Cliff says his first gun was a 12 gauge. Mom bought the wrong one, supposed to be a 20. Yeah, I started out with a 20, and I think for kids, especially young kids, and back then that's the way we started, was young. I think a 20 gauge is a good choice. I actually wanted a 22, and my dad said, "No, you're going to use a 20. It's more versatile." And he was absolutely right. Of course, he was. Tomorrow, starting at noon on the Primal Tree Stands website, primaltreestands.com, primaltreestands.com, on the front page, the home page, there will be a banner that says something like "Enter to win a Michigan turkey hunt." It'll be an all-inclusive hunt along with a guest in northern Michigan with Charlie Wiltsey. Second place, a Breeze blind. You know, that's the blind I killed my Ontario bear out of. Third place, two defenders, descenders. Descender. I wrote that wrong. Descender, return to Descender, and Primal protection harness. And that'll end on April 7th, but it opens tomorrow at noon at primaltreestands.com, primaltreestands.com. While you're on the Primal Tree Stands website, do some shopping, use the promo code Avery, and get deep discounts, including that Wraith 270 see-through blind for less than $200. You didn't say you'll shoot your eye out, kid, at least once. I did not, Topher, but I should have. Heather says her first gun was a 20-gauge 870 Express. It is still the gun I primarily use for hunting. Isn't that cool? I love that, Heather. Jay says his first was a 12 at age 13. I shot my dad's 12-gauge a lot, but I was probably a little bit afraid of it. I was not afraid of that 20-gauge single shot. Hey, Scott, by the way, I was talking to our mutual friend, Brad Dupuis. He said, my boat is not started yet. We got it all spec'd out. We know what it's going to be. It's just not built yet. Also, Scott, are you still looking for boat captains? I should have Walleye for Warriors, walleyesforwarriors.com. Walleyesforwarriors.org. Walleyesforwarriors.org. I believe they are still looking for boat captains for the Walleye for Warriors event on Saginaw Bay, a Mossberg 835 chambered in 3.5 inch. That would be a handful. That would be too much for my grandson, Carter. I'll tell you that right now, Daryl. It'll get the job done, but it'll be too much. Walleyesforwarriors.org. Sign up to be a boat captain. Yes, on boat captains. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, they'll open it up for vets as well. But for now, if you want to be a boat captain, and you don't have to be a licensed charter captain to be a boat captain for the Walleye for Warriors event. It's June 11th and 12th on Saginaw Bay, based out of the Linwood Beach Marina. It's a chance to say thank you and take some vets out. It's a win-win, right? You want to go walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay anyway. You want to honor vets. It's a win-win. It's a win for you. It's a win for them. June 11th and 12th on Saginaw Bay, based out of Linwood Beach Marina, linwoodbeachmarina.com. And the event's website is walleyesforwarriors.org. And sign up to be a boat captain. I have already done that. Yeah. And by the way, Scott, there's a change in my first mate. Ross Elliott, my good friend, is not available that week. So I'm leaning on Tony Sobey to be my first mate. Daryl got his kid a 410 Mossberg. You can't go wrong there, Daryl. Can't go wrong with that. That's for sure. Walleyesforwarriors.org. primaltreestands.com to sign up tomorrow at noon through April 7th for the guided hunting trip. My dad had some old 10-gauge shells that I was intimidated by as a kid. I bet. All right, Bernie, have a good day. Try to stay dry if that's possible today. I think the only way to stay dry today is to stay inside, right? 10-gauge. I've never shot a 10-gauge. Never shot a 10-gauge, Craig. But can you imagine shooting a 10-gauge single shot? Whew, do they even make them? They probably do. Again, that would be a handful. Sound good, Pat? You doing the show, Pat? I am. 2 minutes. We will get started. 2 minutes, and then we'll start this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Well, I told you I was going to tell you who's coming up on this week's show. Brian Anderson, the Tick Terminator, Bob Ransom of Primal Tree Stands, Franklin Hayes of the Michigan Wildlife Council. By the way, he's the deputy police chief for the city of Detroit. Very cool guy. Dave Rose talks fishing. Nick Green of MUCC checks in. And in hour number 3 of this weekend show, Brian Darland of Jay's Sporting Goods, and of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. We are actually in the studio to record next week's show. Jay says lots of ice on the trees here this morning. Good morning, Ron. How are you? So it sounds like they're getting an ice storm up north. No, thank you. Anyway, in about a minute, I'm going to turn my attention from doing this live stream to the radio show. So I won't be able to answer your questions as I'm trying to now. So if you send me a question, if you post a question and I don't respond, it's because I'm actually doing the radio show. I'm ignoring you. I'm Pat says I'm being a dick. As I often am, just not intentionally. But tonight at 7:00 for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, I will be paying attention to you, as will Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC. Choice for first deer season with 12 gauge bolt with slugs, 8mm with steel butt plate. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad. Tim says you don't want to shoot a 50-round trap with a 10 gauge. I bet. I shot with 2 retired 28 gauge rope. There we go. There we go. Okay, and I'll make sure to start a 12-minute segment this week, Pat. Last week I screwed up. Yeah, it'll happen. I'm only human. 15. Thank you, Kevin. You have a great day as well. I will do that because I'm here in the studio talking about the outdoors. I mean, what? It's like not even a real job. It's just fun though. 2, 1, blast off. Okay. All right, my friends, feel free to stick around as we record this first segment of the show. Actually, I have a new advertising partner on board with me now, Brenton USA, BrentonUSA.com. They make the AR-style hunting rifles. How did I get that knot in there? Oh, there he is, bragging, talking about this 4 decades, being an old guy. I didn't want to use it, but Pat says you have to. Not true, but okay. All right, my friends, have a great day. I'll see you tonight. 7:00, another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Amy Trotter of MUCC will be joining me. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan talking about the outdoors for 3 hours every week, as we do here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. And I'm so glad to have you along with us. As we're in the studio right now, it is a rotten, cold, rainy day. Hopefully, by the time you hear this show, it'll be nicer. I was talking to Brad Dupuy of AnglerQuest this morning as I was driving into the studio, and he says, man, Mike, he says, spring's like 3 weeks behind. And he's got a place up in northern Michigan. He said they're tapping maple trees, and he's basing it on the buds and the sap and the frost in the ground. He said, it feels like it's late this year. And it does. It does feel like it's late this year, but it's coming. And if you're in the southern part of the state, and by the time you hear the show, maybe it's already springtime. It's coming. It's coming. What is going on? A couple of things. I had a very, very rewarding experience this past week. My grandson Carter came to me and said, Grandpa, I want to shoot on the trap team, shooting team of his high school. He's a freshman. And I said, well, I think that's great, Carter. If you don't want to play baseball this spring or run track, that's wonderful. How can I help you out? Because I knew what was coming. He said, you don't happen to have a shotgun I could use for this, do you? Well, I'm not a trap or a skeet or a sporting clays guy. I respect those activities. I know they're fun. I've tried them and it just wasn't for me. Maybe because I'm no good at it. So I don't really have a trap or a skeet or a sporting clays shotgun in the safe. But I do happen to have some different shotguns of various gauges and various configurations. So I figured we could find him something. And he said, well, he said, I really want to shoot a 12 gauge. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, no, Carter, you don't want to shoot a 12 gauge. He's kind of a smaller guy. They're shooting 50 rounds. And I'm thinking, if you shoot a 12 gauge for 50 rounds, you're going to be pretty sore, pretty beat up, and maybe a little recoil shy. And you're not going to be concentrating on your form and hitting the bird like you would if you were shooting something else. I said, can you use 20 gauge? And he says, well, let me check. He sent off a text or an email to somebody. Yeah, we can use 20 gauge. I said, all right, let's take a look at what I got here in the safe. In the safe, I had a 12 gauge home defense gun. That ain't going to work. I had a 12 gauge pump action turkey gun. Well, that's an option if we had to. I had a beautiful old Remington 1100 Wingmaster, something that was my granddad's, that was a 20 gauge semi-auto. And I thought, okay, this is a very, very good option. And then I also had an old single shot Stevens 94H made by Savage. That was the first gun that I ever owned. I got it for Christmas when I think I was 12 years old. So we pulled that one out of the safe. So we pulled the 20 gauge semi-auto and the 20 gauge single shot out of the safe. Took them downstairs on my bench, looked them both over. They needed a little bit of work. I mean, they'd been sitting there for a long time. They hadn't been shot. I bet you that single shot hadn't been shot in 40 years. They were sound. They were safe. So we go downstairs, make sure they're unloaded. Actually, I back up. Out in the garage, they make sure they were both unloaded. Carter shouldered them both, and he said, man, I really like this semi-auto. He said, but it feels too big, too long. And I agreed. It didn't fit him very well. Anyway, we take both downstairs to my bench and started working on cleaning them up. And the more I thought about this, the more Carter looked at this, we started to focus in on this single shot 20 gauge. For many reasons. Number one, again, I didn't think he wanted to shoot a 12. I thought it would be too much for him. So a 20 is perfect. That single shot, because they're not shooting multiple rounds anyway, multiple shells, they're loading one at a time. So I didn't have to worry about that. A single shot is such a safe gun. When you break it open, it's obvious to everybody around you that the gun is unloaded and it's open and it's safe. Along the safety line, you got to pull the hammer back before you can shoot the gun. I said, Carter, so the hammer is your safety. You don't pull the hammer back until the gun is shouldered and you're ready to shoot. Took it apart. Thank goodness there's not much to taking apart an old single shot 20 gauge. Took it all apart. Got some solvent in there. Got some, some hoppies in there. Got everything working very smoothly. It was just perfect. He said, Grandpa, I think that's the gun I want to try. And I'm thinking, well, good, because I think that's the best gun. We took it out to my buddy's farm, Cookie's farm, next to the house there. And I had him just shoulder it and shoot a couple rounds to see what it felt like. Okay, no problem. Everything's fine. Everything's safe. Everything's comfortable. I had an old basketball, an old soccer ball in the garage, and threw them across the ground in front of Carter. Okay, here's, get a feel for shooting at a moving target. That went well. Then I stood behind him and threw the balls up in the air away from us. Okay, now get a feel for what something feels like as it's flying through the air, Carter. And it took him a while to get the hang of it, of course, as it would, something you've never done before. But he really enjoyed it. But I tell you what, I think I enjoyed it more than he did. The thought of having my grandson shooting a gun that I shot as a kid, that my parents gave me for Christmas when I was a kid, was so rewarding to me. Now, Grandpa said, Carter says, he acknowledged that it was cool. Grandpa, I think it's cool that I'm shooting a gun that you did as a kid. So he gets that part of it, but he didn't internalize it like I did because, I'm always talking about the history and tradition of the outdoors here on this show. And for me, this was a personal example of the tradition of the outdoor lifestyle. To have my grandson now shooting my first gun, to me is so rewarding and so cool that I just can't even tell you. So we'll see how he does. But if he enjoys it half as much as I'm enjoying watching him shoot, it's going to be a wonderful experience. And isn't this why we do this outdoors, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping? Not only so we can enjoy it ourselves, but so we can pass it along to the generations. Maybe Carter will end up with that gun permanently. And if so, when I'm gone, every time he picks it up, he can say, "This is my grandpa's gun." We're not talking about using it for turkey hunting, although I'm open to that. Speaking of turkey season, by the way, welcome to the month of April. What happens in April? In my world, it's turkey season. The folks at Primal Tree Stands are giving away a guided, all-inclusive turkey hunt in northern Michigan during the May season, the mosquito season, with Charlie Wiltsey, Northern Michigan Turkey Hunting Guide. All-inclusive hunt with one guest. That's the first prize. Second prize is one of those Breeze blinds. That's the blind I shot my Ontario bear out of last August. Third place, 2 Descender safety devices along with a Primal Protector harness. Go to the website, primaltreestands.com. Primaltreestands.com. On the front page, the home page, there is a banner that you can click on to enter the contest. You can only enter once. It runs through April 7th at 7 p.m. On Friday the 8th at noon, these are all Eastern time, they will draw the winner, and I will help announce that as well. That's the May 7th through the 31st season. You'll be hunting with Charlie Wiltsey. Go to primaltreestands.com, primaltreestands.com. On the homepage, click on the banner to enter that contest. While you're there, if you want to do some shopping, use the promo code Avery and get deep discounts on anything on the website, including that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind that I love so much. What else? Walleye for Warriors event is still looking for boat captains for the Walleye for Warriors outing on Saginaw Bay this summer, June 11th and 12th. It's a win-win. You want to go walleye fishing on the bay, plus we want to honor our veterans. They will have a great time as well. Go to the website, walleyesforwarriors.org. walleyesforwarriors.org. Sign up to be a boat captain. You don't have to be a licensed charter captain to be a boat captain for this event. I have already signed up. Looking forward to that. Coming up after the break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show, I want to introduce you to a new advertising partner, a new friend of mine. His name is Mike King of Michigan-made Brenton USA hunting rifles. Very excited to be working with these folks. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. And hour number 2, we're talking Michigan morels. It's getting to be that time of year with Clay Edney. Gary Whalen of the DNR checks in about fish kills. If you see one, don't get too excited. It might be just Mother Nature doing her thing. And in hour number 3, we're talking about knives. Hunting knives, fillet knives, pocket knives, carry knives with Chris Durson of Michigan-based Rapid River Knife Works. And, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner will be along with us to wrap it all up. That's coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. Good morning, Nate. Joe says, Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. Lance, good morning. How are you, buddy? Danny, good morning. All right, my friends, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to end this live feed. But don't forget about tonight, 7 o'clock, another edition of Wednesday Night Live on my Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. MUCC Executive Director Amy Trotter will join me to answer your questions. So have them ready. And then we'll also give away a Michigan brand ham for the holidays, a ham for Easter. That's coming up tonight, 7 o'clock on another edition of Wednesday Night Live. And tomorrow at noon, go to the website, primaltreestands.com to enter the guided turkey hunt in northern Michigan with Charlie Wiltsey. All right, my friends, have a great day. And try to stay dry. And we'll talk to you tonight on another edition of Wednesday Night Live.